Hello, and welcome to this very quick introduction to Kaboodle Charts or K-Charts. Now what we've got here is a standard SharePoint list that's been configured to store organizational risks. We've extended the list to have a number of custom columns. This one here is the severity value, it's just a new number in the range 1 to 10, which indicates how severe the risk is to the organization. The likelihood is just an estimate of how likely it is that risk will be realized. And the exposure is a calculated column, which is worked out simply by multiplying the severity value by the likelihood. So the task that we've got before us is to produce a visualization using K-charts of this organizational risk log. So switching over to a standard site page, I'm just going to flick into page edit mode. And I'm going to add a new instance of K-Charts to this page. I'm then going to configure the web part, and the first thing I need to do is to select the data source. Now I could actually provide the URL to any other site within a tenancy, but if I don't do that, then K-Charts will just assume that I'm wanting to pick up a local list. In this case, we're wanting to hook up the web part to the risk log. The next thing we've got to do is to select the view. I'm not really interested in risks that have been dealt with. I'm only interested in items that are returned by the active risk. And there you can see that those items are immediately shown in the chart area. So we can select from a number of different chart types. We can instantly switch this over to a bar chart, or to a pie chart, or a donut chart, or any of the other chart types. But for this first demonstration, I'm just going to select the simplest column chart type. Now, what we might want to do here is in the y-axis, we might actually want to represent the data that's stored for the exposure value for each of the risk items in the log. So I'm just going to select this as the exposure value, and you can immediately see that the chart now returns a lovely visualization which shows the exposure value for each of the items in the risk log. Now we might also want to be able to group items together. So there was an additional column on the list called business function, which basically says that allows you to identify which area of the business this risk is associated with, whether it's HR, operations, logistics, etc. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group this chart by that business function column. And now you can actually see, I'll just republish the page. Now you can actually see the number of risks that we've got by each of the different business functional areas. So as I hover the mouse over, you can see we've got 4 risks in the IT function, 3 risks in the HR function, 2 in sales, etc. Now, this current configuration just shows the number of items, the count of items that are within each of the category. But if I switch this out and edit the web part again, what I can actually do is I can use an aggregation function to, let's say, have the average of the exposure values or even the total exposure values for each of the groups. So let me just republish that. Now, one of the things that really sets K-Charts apart is the level of integration we've managed to achieve with SharePoint. What this means is it allows you to actually edit the SharePoint list items directly from the K-Charts itself without having to go back to the source list. So, for example, if I was just to select the IT functions, then I can select one of the risk items from this log. And there you can see that the actual values are actually loaded into a side panel. So I'm able to change the values here. Maybe this is now down to 20% or something like that. And then when I close the chart back up, it'll reorganize it or restructure dynamically. So there we have it. That's a very simple and very quick overview as to how to set up K-charts to be able to present business information on a SharePoint page. Thank you for listening.